Hi, everyone, and happy Friday. You know, it's that time when we go live for recording our podcast here for the Heat Press for Profit channel. You guys, we have an incredible guest today. And I say that about all of them, but I really mean it every time. And, you know, today we're talking about branding, and it is so imperative when you are building a business, whether you are decorating for others, decorating for yourself, have an e-commerce platform, do pop-ups, whatever that market channel is for you. It is so important that you build a brand. Brand is about, recognition without truly seeing a logo. It's about looking at a post, looking at a vibe, colors, moods, and going, you know what? That belongs to X person. And Melanie has a Instagram channel, Mel's Crafty Corner, Mel's Crafty Corner. And she has over 60,000 followers. And this is a nurse gone decorator. And as you can see on all of the artwork and inspiration behind her, if you were tuning in live, she is extremely creative. And I cannot wait to really dive into discussing how to get started with branding. So Melanie Van Sistine, thank you so much for joining me today. And why don't you give just a little bit of information about you, who you are, to all of our listeners.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the podcast and joining live to share a little bit about my journey and how I got here. A little bit about me. I am a pediatric nurse by trade, and I have kind of started this small business kind of by a happy accident, is what I like to say. I was working in the COVID front lines, and to be honest, it was pretty dark, and there were a lot of unknowns, and I really just needed a creative outlet to express myself and express my creativity in a way that not only could benefit me and how I was feeling, but also could help spread my sunshine to others around me. So there was one night when I was at home, and I had bought a Cricut for my wedding. I DIY'd all of my wedding signs, and I had it left over. I was sitting one night, and I had this idea of throwing a rainbow on a t-shirt and writing Peds Nurse under it. And I made the t-shirt. I wore it to work, and I pretty immediately got a lot of love from that t-shirt, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. It's good vibes. And that's kind of how it all started. It was a hobby turned into a happy accident, where I launched a website, I created an Instagram and a TikTok account, and I just kind of started making it all up as I go along. To be completely honest, as I mentioned, I went to nursing school, so marketing and branding have definitely been a learning curve for me, but I thankfully have a wonderful partner and husband who did go to business school and is actually in the marketing lane. So he has helped me a lot with brand identification and kind of how I set myself apart from everyone else out there. I feel like that's kind of maybe the gist. If we want to kind of dive into some questions, I'm an open book.
Like the biggest thing about branding is it's not something that happens overnight, right? It's not like you just boom, you create it, develop it, and everything comes to life. It takes some time. So
it takes time.
How has Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. It takes trial and error. It takes different seasons of life and growth. And, what you start out in the beginning, things might come and spark different interests, or, just spark that creative mindset that makes you kind of go a different way or steer this way a little bit. So it definitely does not happen overnight, and it can definitely change and evolve. And that's the beautiful thing of it, I think, anyway.
Me too. I mean, I am one that likes change, right? But sometimes change can be difficult, especially if it's something where we've been doing it one way for so long, and then you have to train your body to do something different. But when it comes to you and building your brand, how has your identification changed from when you first decided, you know what, I'm going to build a website. I'm going to launch this, post on Instagram, and fast forward to 6/16/2023.
Yes.
Here we are today.
Here we are today. Well, my name, Mel's Crafty Corner, has stayed the same, which has been helpful for my brand and my logos and all of that jazz. So my name has stayed the same. It's been Mel's Crafty Corner. And one of the things that has changed a little bit, because I did invest in getting a professional logo done, created by another creator here on Instagram. And she did a phenomenal job. I told her, since my first original product started with rainbows, and you can see rainbows kind of scattered throughout my products and in my space. To touch on that just a little bit, rainbows to me symbolize hope and new beginning. And especially in nursing, there is a lot of dark clouds and storms that can happen. And for me, I just wanted to be the rainbow and help others feel that hope and encouragement, and that we're all in this together, and that you have a friend in me, and that you have a place where you can get it all out, feel heard, feel appreciated, and feel seen for not only the nurses in the community, but also fellow crafters and fellow small business owners who are kind of going through the motions along with me. But I'm getting sidetracked. With where we are today with my branding, I've still kept that rainbow mentality. So you can see the rainbow in my logo. And again, that's to help symbolize hope and new beginnings. And then I also have the RN in corner capitalized, which you could see. I'll stand up. But here's my logo.
Yes.
So you can see the RN capitalized in the middle. And that is just to show my letters, because I worked really hard for those letters. And I also want to help show that you also don't have to be a nurse to be in the community, because I will be open and honest, and I don't practice nursing right now. I am doing this full time, and I'm loving every second of it, and I'm enjoying the journey and continuously learning along the way. But as far as the branding will still go, I love to incorporate my rainbows, my different waves, good vibes.
So when you were deciding, you mentioned rainbows, and you've mentioned good vibes, and really having this creative space, but also a supportive space. Mm-hmm. Did you develop a mood board? How did you make your office? Like, I feel when I look at your office right behind you, I see an entire mood. And when I see that, and then I see what you have created on Instagram specifically, they're very, very similar. So when it comes to your posts, your quotes, the vibe, the environment that you live in, mm-hmm. It's all matching up. So how did you get from blank walls to full walls of happiness? That's what it looks like. It's just pure happiness and joy.
Just joy is leaking from the walls, just everywhere out of the pores. Mood boards are definitely a good place to go. I definitely looked on Pinterest for inspiration and kind of looked at, bright, fun offices, and looked to TikTok as well to see kind of what other people have going for them. And Amazon was also my friend. Amazon and IKEA were big ones in terms of decor and like all my drawers and things like that. Canva is another really good place that I have learned and has definitely helped with my branding and the different embellishments and creating different templates that I can go and just plop right in. For example, on my website with some of my listings, I have some of my signature waves kind of going in the corners just to add a nice little touch. So you can see those kind of being used throughout, either on my website, on an Instagram post, in my stories, and really, again, just trying to get that brand awareness. Is like, if you see a rainbow, hopefully you think of me.
No, but that's the key. That's the key, right? So the branding is tying into the mood and the vibe, not necessarily Mel's Crafty Corner logo, but if somebody is following you on Instagram, they see the happiness, they see the joy, they see your creativity, and it also ties back into a color palette. And while a rainbow is lots of colors, this is something that you utilize in your content. So it's not something where you're like, I use certain Pantone colors only, and that's what I stick to. But yet it also looks like your page is a very free flowing and not too highly structured, but the colors still all represent your brand. So when you post on Instagram, are you mapping out, what your next posts are going to look like so your vibe stays that way? Or is that just something you do naturally because you are so secure in who you are and as a brand?
It's funny that you say that because as much as I am a planner, I don't have a planning system for my social media. So everything, I have drafts, I have plans, I have ideas that I get thrown in there, and sometimes I have the time to sit down and execute it. Other times it gets lost and forgotten until the idea sparks again.
Yeah.
But as far as the colors, yes, I don't just have, my signature 6 colors. I mean, I do, but I definitely play around with the hues and the cool tones, warm tones, depending on the time of year. Playing around with different Lightroom presets. I like to do different, photo editing that way. And Canva, again, is a great tool to help with that and looking at the flow and everything. But I would love to say that I am more thoughtful with my Instagram posts, but I'm not. It's kind of a little... it is very thoughtful and purposeful, but I don't have like my grid that's pre-planned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think that's okay because, when we've talked about social media before, and I think it's always such an incredible and fascinating topic because there's no written rule book, right? It's something that you can make your own. And, the beautiful thing is you can be structured or you can be, almost free flowing, but being thoughtful on what you are posting is what is most important. And when you go to your page, you don't see buy from me. You don't see, here's my newest product. You see quotes. You see inspirational messages on t-shirts that you've posted, which then reach out to people and connect, and they go, oh my gosh, I need to get that shirt. And so, when you are thinking about what you want your brand to represent, are there key things that you kind of just cross off as you are either planning designs, planning colors, quotes?
Yeah, the community is a huge aspect to that. They help me a lot with, deciding what color apparel to choose. I go to them a lot with different designs. Like, I'm stuck between these two. Which one do we like better? But what they can kind of expect is a mix of florals, because I love florals, if you can't tell. And lots of good colors, different... Yeah, I'm so sorry, Kelly. I've lost my train.
Don't apologize. No. You've got a lot of inspiration, like the support on, like at the beginning we talked about you having this support page. Like you want people to come to your page and feel inclusive. You want it to feel, just this place of happiness. So if you are utilizing your community to also choose between images, right? Like, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. That's another way to get everybody involved and you building your own little community. And how long have you had your business and your Instagram page?
My Instagram page has only been live for about 2 years now.
Okay.
And same goes with my website. So I'm still very new and very baby to the business world and Instagram. And it's definitely funny how you're talking about the rule book, because there definitely is a lot of quote unquote rules that you should follow on social media. But
Right.
those rules are always changing. So just make up your own rules. And
I
that's
love
why, at
it.
least for me, like it is a little bit more freeform, but there is thought, there is purpose, there is the community that is behind it that helps it all make it go around. And especially with a lot of those quotes, I know, especially for me, I have my own mental health struggles, and a lot of people in the communities do as well, and especially in the healthcare community. And for me to be able to show I like to call my followers my friends. If I can show my friends that they are not alone in what they're feeling, and providing them with little doses of serotonin and happiness and joy and encouragement, then I'm doing my job. That's what I'm here to do, is just to help people feel more included and supported with doing what they love, whatever that looks like for them. So
Now,
a lot of my products, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, it was just, so a lot of my products try to reflect that, is mental health, support, community.
Do you build a mood board for like every new launch that kind of hits those topics, to where you're going, okay, does this capture X? Does this make sure it's, providing support and community in whatever I'm creating?
Yes and no. I think it all kind of depends on the collection. Whether it's aiming towards the mental health, or it's aiming towards my nursing friends, or it's aimed towards a holiday drop, or what have you. I think it all kind of, sorry, my nose itches, but I think it all just kind of depends on those kind of things.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's like, do you do a mood board per season, or is it just,
Sometimes. And a lot of it just kind of sparks like on the fly. Like sometimes I'll get an idea and I can't not get it out of my head. So I'll go to my iPad and I'll draw it out, and then I'll take it to my Cricut machine and I'll cut it out with some vinyl, and then I'll see if I like it or not. Did the idea transpire?
Yeah.
Then I'll usually take it to my stories and ask my friends, my close friends, and be like, hey, do we like this? And depending on that type of feedback, I'll either launch it or keep it to myself.
That's such a great process, though. Like, that's a checks and balances within itself. Is if it's in there and it's formulating, it's get it out, see what it looks like, rework it if needed, and then don't be afraid that it may not be perfect, because life's not perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's about getting it done and, building that connection. And all four of those were steps on building connection and just really kind of going for it.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's other times where I'm sitting there for 2 months with an idea, and I have my Canva board all set up, and I have 5 different apparel colors, and here's my design, and okay, which one do they look best on? Okay, I'm going to look at Cody's my husband. Cody, which one do these look better, lined up? And then I'll again take it to Instagram just to try to narrow it down as well, because I've learned that sometimes too many options are not a good thing. So I try to narrow it down and keep the options limited, but still giving the customer sense of freedom and having that sense of customizability.
Now, with all of that, how many times let me rephrase that. What's the percent of times where you develop something and you go, that doesn't meet my brand, or I like it, but it's just not connecting with me?
Not that often.
So you are pretty self-aware on who you are as a business and what your niche is, who you're targeting, what you're going after. So you're also it sounds like you're pretty efficient in the creation of ideas and your products simply because you've narrowed that path and you stay on it. Have you tried to kind of like add in other markets, even though healthcare and mental health is really something you focus on?
I haven't, in terms of the product side of things. I have tried to dabble a little bit with my Instagram over the past couple of months in sharing more personal sides of me instead of being more tutorial based. Here's how, because that's kind of how my platform started, was here's what I made and how I made it. And to be honest, it was just getting pretty time consuming creating those content pieces. And I was noticing it wasn't sparking as much joy for me. So I was trying to play around with my different content creation and that other form of outlet that I use to express myself and express myself to the community, and trying to find different avenues. So I've definitely been playing around with social media. As far as the products go, I feel like I've narrowed down my, I don't want to say niche, but I know that my customers like anatomical designs. So for, brains, heart, lungs, all that jazz. I know they like florals. And I know they like some color and some rainbows. And
how did you find that out? Because with healthcare or really kind of any target market, there's so many options in terms of graphics, and especially if you are one that is drawing and developing your own and, correlating all that to who your brand is. How did you come about that florals and anatomical parts are like the thing for you? Because that's a big deal to really hone in on that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It all started a year and a half ago. It was one of my very first kind of designs that I came out with. And I'm going to reach behind the camera or behind my computer and show you the graphic. Sorry. You guys got a little up close and personal. But it was my floral brain, be kind to your mind design. I drew this in Procreate, and this was a sticker, and I made it into a graphic and put it on t-shirts. And it still is one of my best-selling designs and have gotten a lot of love from this. And from here, I kind of stemmed into different molecular structures or happy drugs. So I drew out the chemical structure of serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin and added the floral components where the branches are, because I took 4 semesters of chemistry. So I was able to kind of use some of that towards this. And I think that is something that is lacking. And I've noticed that there aren't a lot of floral molecular structure designs out there. And I even did one for, it was a custom order, but I did Botox, like the Botox structure for an aesthetic center, and it was very pretty. They really liked it. But I think it was from here, I kind of ran with it, and it was, again, just it was really popular, and I kind of was polling my audience, and I poll them frequently of just what do you guys want to see? What are the moods? What are the vibes? What kind of support do you need from me? Because there are other avenues that I try to support my friends outside of just selling them the crafts that I make. One of those is with my mental health collection. I do donate back 15% to the NAMI Foundation, which is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And so that's one of the ways that I give back. I do loads of giveaways, doing different, getting different articles together that may be supportive for different topics that we're talking about. For instance, there was one time where I had my first patient loss at working as a nurse, and it was really hard to navigate that. And I took it to my community, and they were able to provide me with some insights that I didn't have and didn't know how to navigate certain feelings. And then I was able to take that knowledge and bring it to my audience, which they were very appreciative because some of them were going through the same things. So that's, yeah, again, just trying to help that one person with whatever it is that day.
So with that floral brain design, that was one of your first designs. It also looks like it has the color tones that you utilize, throughout everything that you do. It has the branding message of be kind to your mind. And then you've also got illustration elements that you continuously use, whether it is a brain or a part, and then incorporating in that floral design. So was that the piece that was kind of the epiphany for you of this is who I want my brand to represent? Or did you form that knowing you wanted your brand to represent that?
No, again, it was kind of an accident. It's all been a happy accident. I was, again, going through some mental health and was in a spot. And I just took my creativity, wanted to get it out there. And I drew a brain and some flowers around it and wrote a little message to tell myself to be kind to yourself, because sometimes it's easier said than done, and sometimes you just need a little reminder.
So I think the biggest thing on really building your brand is recognizing those branding element checklists, and whether or not you knew to do this, you automatically did it. And that is bringing in designs, what makes you happy, what makes you smile. Put that on a mood board for anybody that's trying to figure out how do I even figure out what my brand is, or what do I want my brand to represent or be? Maybe you just enjoy decorating and you enjoy this industry, but you haven't quite narrowed the lane on who you are. And it's pretty incredible that you're very artistic. Like, we can see this. You're doing your own designs. We can look at your office, your inspiration. But you went to school for nursing. So it's not like you went to school for business, marketing, advertising, graphic art. You just naturally kind of have that in your bones. But along the way, you were able to connect the design elements, the illustrations, whether or not you use consistent fonts, but the patterns, the colors, all of those elements are consisting of creating a brand. And you were able to take what you love, reach out to somebody, get a logo designed, even though you are extremely creative and probably could have designed it yourself.
I probably totally could have, but sometimes it's just best to hand it off to somebody who is a graphic designer.
But don't sell yourself short, because
you,
my friend, are also a graphic designer.
I know. But yes, I do understand what you're saying. But I also wanted to take the opportunity to help support the other small business owners too, because I try to do that as often as I can. And it was a really good moment to be able to work with somebody and put our brains together and come up with something beautiful. And even the logo that you see today was kind of like the fourth different rendition of it. So even it was a collaborative process. I'll just say that.
That's the best way to be, because even if it took you 4 rounds to get that logo, you love it now. And that's what's important, is that just because you have a logo, in my opinion, if you look at your brand and you're like, nah, I love my business, but I'm not really too crazy about my brand or my logo, fix that. Because the minute you start to relate to those design elements, the amount of creativity that can come is just, it's like you just opened, it was the key to the box. You've got a logo that represents you and who you are in a business. And if you feel blocked by that, that's just negative energy that you got to switch it. You got to change it up.
We don't need
And
that. And too, like,
this
you
is a
have
great,
to,
what'd you say?
it's like, you just have to be true to yourself, to be honest. Like, that is first and foremost. You have to kind of do some self-reflecting of what's important to you, what matters most to you. And not only that, but what matters, what kind of message are you trying to put out there? And yeah, just looking at how, like, look at your space. What kind of things do you like to do outside of work, outside of the home, outside of your family? And taking bits and pieces of yourself and putting it into your brand or your business, because that is a part of you.
Yep.
And I think a big thing is you have to love it. Otherwise, nobody else is going to love it.
I love that because, the saying, like, you have to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in your business. You've got to love your business first before you can expect others to also love or buy into your business. Right. Whether they're buying goods from you that are your brand you've created, or they are buying goods from you that they are choosing to have decorated. And you gotta find that love and that passion, and turn around and it can be represented in branding. Really quick, I'm going to show this. This is from Dave Connor. He said, I think emotion and feeling in branding is what people relate to. Mel does it so naturally, and it really makes it so genuine. Love it. And I think that's, it is the feeling. It's what people relate to. They want, and then, you've talked nothing about inspiration and support and community. And when they go and they see who you are, that's exactly what they're going to get in terms of products, but also in brand representation.
Yeah. And just being human,
Yes.
I'm human just like you.
So we've got, what is your Instagram?
You can find me at mels.crafty.corner on Instagram. And it's the same logo, same @ for TikTok as well.
Perfect. So your handle's the same for both Instagram and TikTok. Now, to kind of wrap up our session, what is some advice that you would give to somebody that's either looking at rebranding or kind of struggling with just getting started to identify their brand?
I would say be true to yourself. Do that self-reflection, kind of take a step back. Sometimes when you're too close to something, you can't see the whole picture. So take a step back, take a few days away from it, go outside, get some new perspective, new inspiration. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I think having, another set of eyes or another set of opinions can be a good thing. Too many cooks in the kitchen cannot be helpful. So, and you just be true to yourself, because the rest will follow. If you are genuine and kind and are vulnerable, which is very hard to do, especially on social media, but it'll pay off in the end. And the
branding will kind of naturally form just because of the following.
But also, take a look at some of the brands that you follow, that you love, that you are inspired by, and obviously don't take from them, but look and see what they're doing and see if there are aspects that you enjoy, maybe as a customer, but as a human. And but make your own spin to it, because again, there's only you in this world, and you have to be able to harness that and run with it.
I love it. Now, for those of you that are listening that are kind of trying to figure out what you need to do, where you need to go, you guys can always follow Mel on Instagram, TikTok, reach out to her. As you can tell, she is all about community and supporting one another. And if you're kind of just trying to figure out what you can do differently, consider your logos, secondary logos, any marks or branding elements, color pairings, fonts. Believe it or not, font can have a lot of expression, right? We all know what happens when we get a bold capitalized message, and it's like, why are you screaming at me? So consider the fonts that you use, consider the patterns that you have showcased, wherever you have designs and artwork, because all of that goes back and relates to who you are as a brand.
Yes.
Melanie, thank you so much for joining us today. I truly appreciate it. And you're such a ray of sunshine. And I am huge on collaboration and community as well. So it's always great to talk to like-minded people.
Oh, great minds think alike. And it was such a joy to be able to speak with you today. And I hope I was able to help give some insight to the lovely podcasters out there. And yeah, please feel free to reach out. I have a lot of friends in my back pocket that can be helpful in terms of branding and all of that jazz. So let's be friends.
Everyone, so just in case, because we always like to touch a little bit on our podcast. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to listen. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the show where we launch a new episode every week. And of course, if you guys are not in our Heat Press for Profit community on Facebook, go join that community. We are talking a lot about community here on this podcast, and that's an excellent way to connect with like-minded individuals, get help, answer questions, and of course, support. Melanie Van Sistine, thank you so much again, and you all have a wonderful Friday and happy decorating.
Yes.